We call the meeting of the Liberty County Board of Commissioners to order. Mr. Brown, has the meeting been properly advertised?
Yes, sir, it has.
Patrick must be on his way. Thank you, sir. Is there someone here from the United Ministerial Alliance? No? All right, then we'll go where God dwells. Mr. Moses, can you lead us in our invocation and our pledge, please. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this beautiful day. And Father God, we thank you for this rain to replenish the earth. We pray for divine wisdom and insight for this body as they deliberate on the business of this county. And then, Father God, we pray for our outgoing Magistrate George. We pray that you would bless her to have a prosperous, Father God, retirement, and that you be with her. This we thank you for in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. This time we're going to pause on our agenda to make a special recognition. We have a young lady in our audience who has given so many years of faithful service to Liberty County, Georgia, and she's going to retire. Oh, she has retired. 30% already come. She has retired. She has retired. We wanted her not to just walk away without knowing how much the Board of Commissioners as well as Liberty County appreciate her. Attended a reception just a few days ago that was very well attended, and she was hugged and kissed and loved to no end. But we wanted her to come today to the commission so that we could extend our appreciation and farewell wishes. I'm going to let you make a statement first. If you will come, please, Judge Anderson, and tell us about your transition. And then we'll.
Well, I didn't prepare a statement, but you know me, if I ever start talking,
If you,
I may have to stop.
if you just go to the.
Throw something at me. Well, I have spent 40 years in magistrate court, and it has been absolute honor to have the citizens of Liberty County reelect me that many terms and allow me to serve there. It has been a very wonderful experience working with the different committees and law enforcement agencies, the commission, well, I guess I would say the one thing that made the success of my tenure there was the wonderful employees who are citizens of Liberty County. Men that there in the past and the ones that are still there, some have been with me 30-something years. Over the years, we've had magistrates and we've had clerks and, that have worked there. A lot of them have been there just about the whole time. And we have wonderful staff. It just makes it a joy to spend time at work, even though the work is hard and it is very sensitive because we deal with people who have problems. And while we go into work every day and, it's another day at work for us, the people that come into our court and that have problems, it's maybe the most important day of their life. Now, we also, we have an office at the jail, we have court, we do all the arrest warrants, search warrants, first appearance hearings. In the beginning, we probably did about 800 or 900 maybe warrants a year, which was a lot. And most of those were bad check warrants, but we don't hardly do any bad check warrants anymore because all the stores have that, whatever they do that guarantees the check. But if we did probably average maybe 5 or 6 search warrants a year. Now we do 200 a year. We may do 4,000 or 5,000 warrants, and none of them are for bad checks and things like that. Everybody has to have a first appearance hearing that's, arrested. That's on our criminal side. We do the county ordinance violations. We do dispossessories. I think we have about 900 that have been issued, filed up to date. And those are very time sensitive. They get filed generally the sheriff's department's got them served the next day, and they've got 7 days to answer. If they don't answer, they can be put out by default. If they do answer, we put them on the calendar in 7 to 10 days. They have a hearing, and then we dispose of that. So it's fast-paced and a lot of sad stories. So it takes the staff, as I was talking about, you have to have a very good demeanor. You have to have a kindness. You have to be a caring person, and you have to be able to put all that together and uphold the law. And sometimes it isn't an easy thing to do. But I've done it for 40 years, and I was telling somebody in the beginning, back then I used to go home sometimes, and I would actually at night be in my bed and cry about something that some people I had to put out in the street that day. And it's something you have to learn when you first start. It's not easy. And I have a wonderful person that has been appointed to take my place. This is not the end of my term, but due to some family problems with some school and children and stuff, I just need to be able to be where I can go and do what I need to do. But I have been honored, truly honored. Law enforcement, we work with all law enforcement in the whole county, and in the city and the county, and working with my representative here, and there's been ups and downs, but overall it's been a good ride, and I hope that I have done a good job. I've always tried to do that, to be fair, and still, follow the law. And I don't know of any time that I haven't. If someone else thinks it's that happened, well, and probably they did, because as I've said before, this is not a popularity situation in this position, because, in the civil area, when people come before you for a hearing, 50% of them leave mad as heck at you, because they lost. And then half of the other 50% leave mad because they didn't get what they thought they deserved. So you got to be very, very tough-skinned sometime, and I just feel like it's been so much a part of my life. It's really going to be hard to kind of give it up. But I think that because the year that magistrate court was created, I was a JP, Justice of the Peace. And all justice of the peace automatically became magistrates. So the year it was created, the day it was created, I became a magistrate. And that was 40 years ago in this year. So, and there was no real big thing. There was the small claims court judge automatically became the chief magistrate, and he had a room on the bottom floor of the courthouse, the old courthouse, and that's all it was just a room. You walked in, his secretary or clerk was right there, which was his wife, and she had a manual typewriter and a 10-key adding machine. He had a desk at the back. When people came in, they sat in front of his desk, and he, proceeded to try to solve the problems that they were dealing with. So we started off with that, and then when he didn't run, when he didn't run and I ran, he left, and his wife went with him. So we had to go back and start from scratch. But I've had wonderful people. I love the people of Liberty County. I am Liberty County proud, and Commissioner Lovett and I grew up together down in Waldiville. And so we got a staunch feeling for justice and all that stuff, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
But anyway, I thank you for letting me have the opportunity to do this. And it's a very humbling job when you get right down to it, because of the fact that we have control over people's lives that have some no recourse, and some have no control over their own lives themselves, and a lot of sad situations that we have to deal with.
Judge Anderson, a few months ago, at the most, we honored Hazel Carter for her accomplishments and being a trailblazer in the state of Georgia. You may not realize it, but this is being live streamed, so you have the opportunity to talk about the trailblazer in your family, on whose shoulders you stand, who helped to make Walthamville and Liberty County a good place.
And I am a chip off the old block, I guess you could say, and I didn't realize we were being live streamed. And people say, well, where do you, how did you do all this and how do you figure out stuff? Because I'm not an attorney, and you don't have to be an attorney for that court. But I had the most wonderful parents who were honest and kind, and my mother was the first mayor of Walthamville. She and some other ladies got the property incorporated, and she was the first mayor, and all the ladies became councilwomen as to run the county, the city. And then once they got everything going at the first election, they all had opposition. And it was all men. But they didn't have to worry. They beat them like a red-headed stepchild. So she was, Walter Cronkite. If any of you are young, old enough to remember Walter Cronkite, and some more of the Sunday night news programs, they came to Walthamville. They interviewed us all. You would have thought, and my mama kept saying, what in the world are these people? Because they hadn't done anything to gain notoriety, but it was a lot of work. You had a lot of steps to go through. You had to stay with it. They had a lot of things that they got done. They got street lights. They got water. These women were on it. And so they did a lot of work, and so I guess and of course my mother owned a business, and she ran the business. It was the, what you would call the neighborhood little grocery store gas station, because it was before Jiffy Marts and stuff like that. So I grew up working hard in that. Well, I actually grew up on a farm. And when I was a young teenager, we got that store, and we worked in there. Then my mother went through all that. My dad was always, he wasn't much, he was quiet. He didn't want any notoriety, but he was always there to support her and me and my sister in anything we wanted to do. So, I guess it's just in our blood.
I know that was the first all-female city council.
Yes, the first all-female government in the state of Georgia, or whatever. They've got in the United States. In the United States, we've got a lot of information on that. When my mother passed away, I was going through her things. She had letters. And I remembered then that we had, when she got those letters, some of them were from foreign countries in Europe and different places. We had to see if we could get someone at Fort Stewart that knew someone that could, that could read the letters to us, because we couldn't read that language. And I found them. She had kept them all in a thing, so they had to be translated. And it was women that were writing them, and even men, and it was such a big deal. It was like they had landed on the moon or something,
Landed in Walthamville.
Yeah, landed in Walthamville, and they were just doing what you do. Yeah. And that's what we do here.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is the people in Liberty County.
That's the fiber of the
we
county.
do what we do,
That's
and
right.
we do what we got
That's
to
right.
do.
That's
And
right.
I have to say, over those 40 years, I have traveled. We have required learning, continuing education every year, and we have lots of meetings and stuff. I've served on committees and programs and stuff all over the state of Georgia during that time, helping the magistrate court really get established through the state. But the one thing that I have always been so proud of is that when you're talking about these things, many of these counties, and they'll talk about, my sheriff's department, and this one wants that, and my commissioners don't. I would have hated to live in those places, because they were all like, at each other's throats and necks and no support. And I was so happy that I lived in a place where we don't always agree now, and I could tell you a few little things about that, but I won't. Not right now, because we just had budget, you know. Anyway, but everybody tried to always come together, and everybody in so many of those counties were vying for, you know, to be the top dog or whatever. I don't know. I just never could understand it, and I thought, how did they ever get anything done? And probably they didn't get a lot done. But I have been very honored to serve. I thank all the citizens of Liberty County, because every 4 years you had to, you know, get voted in again. And I appreciate all the cooperation from this board and the previous boards. And like I said, law enforcement all over the county. We didn't even have some of the cities that we have now back then. They've been since incorporated. And truly, the people that worked with me and for me, however, have been the best in the world, the best in the world.
Well, we appreciate you. And this time, we're going to allow the commissioners, if you want to have comments and share sentiments with Judge Anderson, then we'll go down and make a presentation.
I wondered, I believe Miss Melinda was the first female mayor in the state of Georgia. Is that correct?
I think she was the first female, I think so.
I was just looking at something there. I think she was the first female in Liberty County and the first female in the state, and you were the first female magistrate in Liberty County.
That is true,
So we got a first all the way around.
yeah. And I have a daughter, and there's no telling what she's she's
My
right.
wife taught her, so.
Yeah, your wife taught her, so you know how that's going to turn out, because she knows.
Judge Anderson,
Yes, sir.
40 years is a long time. But
40 years is a long time.
Long time. I want to say thank you for your service that you provide. And like you say, you found out very quickly you can't satisfy everyone.
Absolutely.
Some leave happy, some leave sad. But you did a good job. Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. I always tried to do what was right according to the law and the best I could to make it as easy as, or as comfortable as I could for everybody. No matter who you were, I just, you know, you have to do that if you're going to have a job like that. That's why justice is blind.
Judge Anderson, first of all, I just want to say thank you for your service to the entire Liberty County. It's definitely been a pleasure with you being in our office over there, and you're going to totally be missed. 40 years, man.
40 years.
Yeah.
I started when I was 12.
I was wondering. I was trying to do the math, and the math wasn't mathing, so I was trying to figure it out.
I was a child prodigy, I guess.
Hey, listen, and I can see why. Absolutely, great job, because because you've been almost the only judge I've known over there. Yeah, for 40 years. But just like what everyone else was saying, I always try to say this, and I try to stick with this. You always wanted the popular thing and the right thing to coexist.
Yes,
But if they don't, always pick the right thing.
that's right.
And you've always have done that over there, and we definitely appreciate your service to this entire community. And you will be missed, but I think we all know where to find you if we need you. So
You
thank
certainly
you so
do,
much.
and I will be right there.
Absolutely.
For
Yes, sir. Well, I think you'll always be
Right.
Judge Anderson. It may.
Emeritus.
Well,
Emeritus.
yeah, I think
That's
you're
right.
always get to be, you get to be called that, even if
That's
you can't
right.
go in and do things.
But I appreciate everything you've done over the past 40 years. And I went into the swearing in this afternoon for Judge Paula Hendricks and Judge McCurt. And I think you left it in good hands.
I
The
did.
timing was right.
I really
and I think
feel
you've done
good
right.
about it. You know,
Yeah,
like I said,
that's
for
right.
40 years, I think
You
I
know.
mentioned that to you. I felt like it was kind of my baby that I had been raising, and I couldn't just let it go, you know. But then I thought,
Peace.
they can take care of this baby.
That's right. That's right, and they can,
They can.
But
They're
I
very
remember
good.
when I first sought my position, and Waltharville was in my district at that time, and I went to see your mother at the Anderson store, and Lord, it was just hard to pin her down. She was just all over. She was a busy woman, you know, and but she gave me some good pointers. I think she pointed me in the right direction to people to talk to, and she gave me a lot of good advice. So with that, I'm just overwhelmed that I got to know her daughter as the judge of Liberty County also, and to work with you during this tenure.
And you have been on the council, the commission for a long time, so
Well, thank you.
it's been a pleasure working with you, Connie.
Thank you. Yes,
And I
ma'am.
know about Mama, because we had gas tanks. You didn't pump your own back then.
No, she was-
pumping gas and writing, signing orders and giving people tips and everything
Yes,
else.
she was one of a kind.
Yes.
Mr. Gillett?
Judge Anderson, congratulations. I do remember, and all of us from the chairman down this side, all of us run the same term, the same 4-year term. And I remember in, I guess it was 2020, you had said that, I think you had opposition, but you said that you would just plan on just running one more time. And you were successful, you know, because the people knew what you represented and what you brought to the table. And we're grateful for that. But I can go back to my years at the recreation department when you had 2 boys that played sports before my brother Ricky worked down there, I worked down there. And just by the luck of the draw, your 2 boys' names were Bobby and Billy. Bobby Anderson, Billy. Billy was the baseball player and Bobby was the track star. And, you know, we had some real good times back then traveling, had real good teams. Like I say, Billy could hit a baseball and he could also shoot a rifle pretty good too, from what my cousins told me, from doing the turkey shoot hunting. But we're gonna miss you. I know you'll still be around, and congratulations in your retirement. I was hoping that you would have were able to, you know, complete that was your goal, to do one more term. But you know, I guess a year and 5 months short. But
Yeah,
you know,
and it was kind of short, and I apologize for that, because I knew I was trying to make arrangements for those girls and their school and all, and school starts tomorrow. So I thought, no, I just have to do it, because I can't wait another month, and they're in school, and we got a big mess that I got to straighten out there. So, I mean, you know, you got God, family, and country, and all that, but, you know, these are children
Oh, you
that
got
I'm
families,
responsible
yeah.
for, and they're young children, and they don't have anybody else. So I'm going to be there for them.
well, congratulations, and we're gonna miss you, but we appreciate all that you've given to this county. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Judge Anderson, you married my daughter, and you were always there when we needed you. And I think you've done a good job, and you were first. And I remember Bobby and Billy and Hollis, all of them. But, you know, you've got things you need to do, and this board understands it. And I know the public will understand it. Wish we could have done something to make life easier, but sometimes, you know, you can just do so much with, as Commissioner Stevens says, you can do so much with the almighty copper penny, and then, you know, other things that you were needed. But hopefully that the transition will be smooth. But I also know you well enough to know that if your person you leave in charge needs anything, they'll be glad to help them.
Yes,
So,
they will. They certainly will. She's worked with me for 2 years as a magistrate there, so she's been involved in all the stuff. She is an attorney. And then the young man that was appointed to take her place is a local young man. I don't know if you guys, how many of y'all know, but his mother was an employee of this county and this courthouse
Finance.
for many years. Michael McGirt is
Okay.
the new magistrate that's gonna take her place. He's been with us a little over 2 years. He's been in real estate. He was living in Atlanta, moved back because he didn't want to raise his children up there. He worked with maybe Hinesville Housing and some of the HUD projects that he was working for those projects with the rentals and all. So he knows all that law and how all that works. And we have so much of that. We have more subsidized housing of sorts in this county than any 4 counties around us. And I don't know how all these people that wind up here, and they're not from here. I think they come in with people that are in the military maybe and just decide to stay, but then they don't have anywhere to go. They have no support. And we have a real problem. I don't know. I'm hoping that, and if there's anything that I could do with, the Ministerial Alliance or anybody else that's working on that, I would be happy to do that now that I will have free time.
We can all testify that we know how you got the position because you politicked us all in there, so you sure you're not really running again, sir?
Well, no, you never stop politicking.
No, I know that.
Judge Anderson, if you will come this way, Mr. Brown, if you will read that for us. Judge Anderson, you come this way. Representative Williams, will you join us, please, for the, come on the podium for us. Yeah. Commissioners, lesson.
The
All rise,
certificate
the
of
judge is
recognition from the Liberty County Board of Commissioners, presented to Judge Melinda Anderson for 40 years of service as magistrate court judge in Liberty County, signed by the chairman.
Who's hiding?
You already know who.
Okay, all right.
All right. On the count of 3, can y'all say happy retirement? 1, 2, 3.
Happy retirement.
Got it? Thank you so much. Thank you.
We do have committee appointments from time to time, Judge.
All right, well,
All right, ma'am, kind of catch up with
I've been known to bite off more than I could chew, although I kept on chewing, so allow some free time.
Thank you so much and congratulations to you.
Need to sign some more? Okay.
2 more?
Got it.
This ain't the same as this one, is it?
He says there's 2 additional.
Can we sign both of them? Or 3 of them?
Judge, you're welcome to stay out. We will graciously excuse you.
Okay, well, my daughter-in-law's over here, so I'm hoping that she's taking me to dinner. Yeah, I mean, you gotta celebrate, you gotta take advantage of these.
That's right.
Well,
You
that
gotta
was-
start school tomorrow.
That was a subtle hint.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you,
And,
Judge.
it's been a pleasure. Good luck with whatever you're here for.
Wish them all well, huh? Thank you, Judge. All right, LCPC, Mr. Rickerson, we need to go into public hearing.
We
Chair,
had-
take the motion to go into
we had
public
to-
hearing.
We had to
Move.
done
Second.
the minutes.
Ah, I did.
You did?
I'm moving.
Well, William,
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, on the July 20th meetings, I would like the minutes to reflect that, that I dialed in for that meeting. It says that, that I joined the meeting, which I did, but, I was there from the beginning. On that, when I was
We'll make
last-
those changes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we'll make those changes.
That's the only correction? If so, Chair, take the
Only
motion
one I
to
got.
approve the minutes with the necessary corrections. Motion?
So move.
Second.
Second. All in favor, show your hands. Minutes be approved with the necessary corrections. Thank you for that catch, Mr. Gill. All right, we're in public hearing.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the commission. I've got 4 items to present to you, 4 zoning items, but I also want to call attention to, in case there's anybody here, for one that was, we had advertised for a hearing tonight. It was a variance for Flemington Forest out off of McIntosh Lake Road. At the request of the applicant, we deferred that to your mid-month meeting on the 17th, so that will not be heard tonight, but I would like to present the ones that we have on the agenda tonight. The first item that we have is a request by Mr. Chester Barrett. This is Rezoning Petition 2023-041. This is a request to rezone 71.89 acres of land from A1 and AR1. It's split zoning. It's on Highway 84. I want to rezone that to MHP, which is Manufactured Home Park, for the purpose of expanding an existing manufactured home park that he has on the property. This property is located at 240 CL Barrett Drive in an unincorporated county off of Highway 84 between Flemington and Midway. This is the sign on the property. You can see Mr. Barrett's muffler shop there in the background there. This is Highway 84. You got the advertisement in the Coastal Courier. This is just a map showing the vicinity, Highway 84 here and Homestown Road. This is a long, deep lot off of Highway 84. You can see there's some ponds, and this is the area where his existing mobile home park is. He'd like to expand that by, I think, 3 additional units. And you can see here, that's just a zoning map. The front part of the property here is zoned AR1, and the back part back here, the majority of the property is currently zoned A1, which is ag. And this is the flood map, just showing that there's a good bit of the property in the rear, most part of the property that's in the floodplain and the flood, actually the floodway of Peacock Canal back in the rearmost part of the property. And you can see here the wetlands map. There's a good bit of wetlands on the property as well, but there's that area in the middle part there where it's developed that's not wetlands, and that's the area where he'd like to expand the mobile home park. And this is just a plat of the property, just showing the current layout, the road going back into the mobile home park, and this is the existing area where the mobile homes are currently located, and this is the area where he wants to expand to put the 3 additional units right here in this area. And that's just his concept plan, just showing you a little bit bigger picture of what I just showed you there, just showing you where he wants to put the new units. And these are just some pictures of existing structures on the property. You can see there are a number of mobile homes there, and there's some community facilities here, some pavilions where they have recreational activities. Just additional, there's you saw the big water feature from the aerial photograph. That's a ground level shot of that. That's the current layout. I think Okay, our zoning analysis. Does this property have reasonable economic value as it's currently zoned? The answer is yes. Does the proposed use conform to the Fort Stewart Joint Land Use Study? Our answer is yes to that. Number 3, does the proposed use conform to the Liberty County Comprehensive Plan? Answer there is no. It's designated as agriculture and forestry. Number 4, will there be an adverse effect on the value and usability of nearby properties? No. Is the proposed use suitable in view of nearby uses? No, the surrounding uses are all agricultural. Number 6, will this create an undue burden on transportation or schools or public utilities? The answer is no. Number 7, will this create a short-term gain at the expense of our long-term goals? No. Will this change cause a domino effect or encourage sprawl? No. Number 9, are there any unique historical sites that would be adversely impacted by this rezoning request? We haven't noted any. Number 10, is this parcel in a flood hazard area? Yes, we showed you that on the previous map. It's in the A zone and in the floodway. Number 11, is it spot zoning and unrelated to the existing pattern of development? As you saw from looking at the map, most of the area is agricultural and forestry, but this is an existing non-conforming mobile home park. And you see there in number 12, that's a unique, we've identified that as a unique condition that supports approval of this request because it is an existing non-conforming manufactured home park, and this rezoning would make it conforming. So Planning Commission heard this at their July the 18th meeting, and they recommend approval with standard conditions. And I'll be glad to answer any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Before we bring the applicant, any questions for Mr. Vickerson?
I have none.
Applicant's here? Yeah. Mr. Barrett? Yes. What we normally do is open the floor to the applicant to make a statement if you should choose. You don't have to, but to make a statement if you should choose about your project. You good? All right. All right. Is there anyone here to speak against the public hearing project? Can there be none? All right.
Chair, you ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Chair, I make a motion that we allow Mr. Chester Barrett to rezone the 71.89 acres from A1 to AR1.
Second.
Motion and second that we approve the rezoning petition as presented by LCPC for the rezoning. Any further discussion? Seeing be none, all in favor, by show of hands, please. The rezoning petition is approved. Mr. Barrett is approved, sir. Thank you.
Hinesville.
I'd like to welcome Mr. Barrett. CL. Over here, CL. Right, CL, over here, right here. Yeah, I was telling the chairman, I would like to welcome you to Hinesville. You only come up here about once every 50 years, you know, so. And it took the state representative to bring you this time. I know for once, the last time I know you came to Hinesville, I gave you a ride, and that's been 10 years ago, so yeah, all right. Well, good to see you, good to see you.
Man, I was saying the same thing. Just welcome to Hinesville.
Y'all quit picking on
My man.
Leave him off.
Y'all let him go, because he needs to be home before dark.
All right, next presentation.
Okay.
Sir,
Chairman, our next request is a request for a conditional use. This was submitted by M.E. Sack Engineering on behalf of Daybreak Industrial for a borrow pit. This property is located on Smiley Hall Road. It's pretty much an area, as you'll see from the maps, that is surrounded by property owned by the Liberty County Development Authority. And you can see there the parcel number is identified on here. This is also in District 1. Public notification, you can see we've got a sign on the property. This is the gate going into the Development Authority property, and then this property is down on the right-hand side, just through that gate there. This is the ad that we ran in the Coastal Courier advertising tonight's hearing. And this is a map just showing the vicinity. This is Highway 17, Coastal Highway here. You can see Smiley Hall Road here coming off of Highway 17. And this property is kind of floating in the middle of this bigger property here that's owned by the Liberty County Development Authority. And you can see the flood map here. The back half of this property is located in the floodplain. The pit is proposed to be up here in the uplands. And this is wetlands. You can see that maybe three-fourths of this property is identified here in wetlands. I don't think it's all in there, but this is what we have from the wetlands inventory map. But again, the pit's going to be up here in the area that's outside of the wetlands. And this is a zoning map just showing that it's in the middle of this industrial property. The industrial property I-1 is zoned I-1 is shown in gray. The green here is the A1, this is agricultural property, and borrow pits are allowed as a conditional use in agricultural property. And this is a survey of the property. You can see the Smiley Hall Road coming here, and they get their access through a road coming through there. It's a little over 59 acres of land. Descriptive narrative just saying that they want to create a borrow pit on this property, and they're going to follow all the procedures that are required for a borrow pit. They're going to get their approval from the state EPD in order to operate this pit under the state law. And this is just showing showing a blow up of the proposed location. You can see that's the property parcel line that we looked at earlier. You can see that they're showing the area being pretty much the northern half of that property. And this is just a blow up of that previous picture, just showing the parcel and the area where they're proposing to put the borrow pit. And there are 6 criteria that your ordinance provides for evaluating, for you to consider in considering approval of this conditional use. Number 1, the use shall not adversely affect the economic values or physical appearance of the neighborhood or areas surrounding the site in question. We've answered that question, no, that it should not adversely affect the surrounding area. Number 2, the use shall be consistent with the comprehensive plan and with the purpose and intent of the land use district. We answered that yes. This is agricultural, it's shown as agricultural in the comprehensive plan, and borrow pits are allowed as a conditional use in agricultural land. Number 3, the establishment, maintenance, and operation of the use shall not be detrimental or endanger public health or safety, and we've concluded that it will not. Number 4, the use will not create an undue burden on transportation, streets, public utilities, and public safety. We concluded no, it will not. Number 5, the design shall minimize the physical, environmental effects of adjacent properties, including adverse visual impact buffer zones where necessary to shield any adverse factors. We've noted there that the existing buffer will be maintained. This is in an area that's surrounded by industrial property. Number 6, additional space for parking, landscaping, and adequate measures for ingress and egress shall be considered necessary to protect adjacent structures and lots from adverse impact, and we haven't noted any additional things that need to be provided for. LCPC Planning Commission heard this at their July 18th meeting, and they recommended approval with standard conditions. And Chairman, the applicant is here, and their engineer is here. If you got any questions for them.
Any questions from Mr. Rickerson before he leaves the podium?
None on this side.
No. Applicant, or person representing the applicant? While you're there, sir, let's use this time, once again, for live stream to educate the general public on why we have so many requests for, like this, that's coming before the council.
Marcus Sack with ME Sack Engineering. Also sit with some of these fine gentlemen on the Development Authority, which we've seen an awful lot of new development in Liberty County, not just from the industrial side, but also private development side. I mean, you guys know it just as well as anybody, but from the general public, you probably read about it. There's a lot of work going on, and to do that work, especially in low-lying areas, you need earth, and you need to move the earth from one project to another so that you have a safe, viable development. And generally, that's what these guys want to do. This is the next to last step to get them legal and be able to mine earth and take it to another site. The next step, of course, would be through Atlanta at EPD. Those requirements will require them to monitor and mitigate and reclaim the site once it's done to something that will be fitting in that agricultural area. So I think it'll be a good project once it's done. It'll be beneficial to Liberty County and its developments, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Sack?
In terms, we need dirt.
Good dirt.
Yeah, good dirt.
Good dirt.
Good call.
Yeah,
Good
good
call.
dirt.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
We're blessed to live on the coast, but it's also a challenge to live on the coast with the
it most certainly is.
salt tax that we have.
I will say, I want to get this in the record. I did, at the Planning Commission meeting, it was asked whether or not there was proper access to the site, and we reported that we would check on that. Actually, Mr. Tolley called me and said that he's working with Kelly to make sure there is okay access. One thing that the Development Authority did request is to have a gate just past the drive into this site so that trucks can't inadvertently go more east into Tradeport West. So that is one thing that we'll make sure happens.
Marcus,
Yes,
let me say this since you stated that. Make sure, my good friend sitting over there, make sure you tell all your trucks to watch their speed limit on Smiley Hall Road.
35 mile an hour.
Whatever it is.
I told them to go 20.
Okay, all right.
Go 15, go 15.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone, Mr. Rickerson, anyone in opposition to the project? Okay.
No.
All right, sir. All right.
Chair, I make a motion that we allow Daybreak to go ahead and proceed to the next step with the bar pit.
Second.
Any further discussion? I got a question. When he speaks about, Mark, when he speaks about the state requirements to monitor, is that indefinite, or is that for 10 years, or how, just educate me?
For the duration of the bar pit.
Really?
Until it's fully reclaimed, it
Uh-huh.
has to be monitored. And,
Really?
EPD oversees that. That's an annual report that has to be done
Yeah.
to maintain that permit. Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, all in favor of the motion, let them know by show of hand, please.
We did.
Opposed? All right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, our next request is a petition from Jane Henry to rezone a half acre of land from A1 to A1 Agricultural District to R12 Single Family Residential for residential use. The property has frontage on Van Dyke Creek Road and also Old Gun Road and unincorporated Liberty County out at the coast. It's also in District 1.
District 1.
Marion, you get all the business there. This is the sign on the property, and also the ad in the Coastal Courier that advertised tonight's meeting. And this is the property here, Van Dyke Road here, and you can see the property goes from Van Dyke Road down to these lots here along the marshy area. They're wanting to cut off just this one little half-acre piece right there and sell that as a separate lot from the big tract that they own here. So this is the property they'd like to, this piece of the property right here is what they'd like to rezone to R12. And that just shows you the zoning map. This big piece of property right here is currently zoned A1. They want to cut off this piece right here and zone it R12 as all these other lots over here are across the street. And the narrative there is pretty simple. They just want to rezone this half-acre piece of property from A1 to R12 so that they can sell it for residential purposes. And there's a plat of the property just showing the exact boundary of the area. This area right here is what they want to cut off as a half-acre. Does this property have reasonable economic value as it's currently zoned? Answer is yes. Does the proposed use conform to the Fort Stewart J-LUS study? Yes. Does the proposed use conform to the county comprehensive plan? This area is designated as agricultural forestry, which does allow residential development, so it would be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Number 4, will there be an adverse effect on the value and usability of nearby properties? No. Is the proposed use suitable in view of nearby uses? Yes. This will not create any undue burden on transportation or public safety. Would this create a short-term gain at the expense of our long-term goals? No. This will not create a domino effect or sprawl, and we have not noted any historical sites that would be negatively impacted. This parcel is not in the flood hazard area. This would not constitute spot zoning, and we have not identified any unique conditions that support approval or denial. Planning Commission heard this at their July the 18th meeting, and they recommended approval with standard conditions. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any question from Mr. Ricketson on the proposal? Petitioner here. Hello. Please come to the podium, just give us your name and just a quick 2-minute overview of
I believe she
your
can do it in one.
requests.
I'm Jane Henry. I just kind of want to cut out that one section that's kind of odd piece of property to me. It's a good time to sell, and my neighbors are interested in it. So I just want to take advantage of that.
Okay, all right. Was there anyone in opposition? None? All right. You got good neighbors then.
I do, really good ones.
You got good neighbors then. All right, which district?
One.
One? That's right, y'all did say everything is in one.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we follow the recommendation of LCPC.
Second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please. All right.
Thank you.
Rezoning is approved. Thank you.
Chairman, our last rezoning request tonight is a petition that was submitted by Hook and Reel on behalf of Kevin Hofkin, who wants to rezone 2.47 acres of land from SFMH, which is Single Family Manufactured Home. That's one of our new districts. It was formerly known as R2A. And it wants to rezone that to C2 for a boat storage facility. This property is currently used for boat storage and has been for many years. Property is located at 685 Kings Road in unincorporated Liberty County at the coast. And again, Mr. Stevens, it's in your district. This is a picture of the facility. The boat storage is over here on the left from this picture. That's the road going in front of it. So that's our sign and the ad in the Coastal Courier. And this is an aerial photograph. You can see Half Moon Marina is here. The condo is associated with that. So this property is really associated with Half Moon Marina. This is where their boat storage is located. You can see there are neighborhoods in the area, but this property has been used as a boat storage facility for many years. And the zoning map there, you can see the orange there is our SFMH area. This is kind of in the middle of that area, but again, and there are houses on this side. This area over here is vacant, I believe. Narrative is simple. They want to, they're considering making some improvements to the boat shed. As I said, this has been used as a boat shed for a long time, and the building is pretty dated, so they're looking at trying to update that building, and they would like to get it zoned appropriately so they can do that, enhance the boat storage in that facility.
Also had been zoned residential.
That's right, that's right. So anyway, this is a plat of the property, just showing the layout of the property. And our zoning analysis, does this property have reasonable economic value as it's currently zoned? We answered yes. Does it does the proposed use conform to the Fort Stewart J-List study? Yes. Does the property conform to the Liberty County Comprehensive Plan? The comprehensive plan designates this property as residential, but as we said, this has been used for a long time as a non-conforming boat storage facility. Number 4, will there be an adverse effect on the value and usability of nearby properties? Answer is no. Is the proposed use suitable in view of nearby uses? Yes. Will the zoning proposal create an undue burden on transportation, public safety, or infrastructure? Answer is no. Number 7, would this allow a short-term gain at the expense of our long-term goals? We've answered that as no. Number 8, would this change cause a domino effect or encourage sprawl? Answer is no. Number 9, are there unique historical sites which may be adversely impacted? We have not identified any. Number 10, this property is not in a flood hazard area. Number 11, is it spot zoning and unrelated to the existing pattern of development? Our answer there is yes, but this is an existing non-conforming use. This building is there. It's a pretty large structure, and it has been there in that current use for a long time. And number 12, are there unique conditions which support approval or denial? And we've noted there that this proposed zoning would make the existing use conforming. So Planning Commission heard this request at their July the 18th meeting, and they recommended approval with standard and special conditions. And the special condition is that the property shall only be used for boat storage, which it has been used historically. So we're glad to answer any questions that you have.
Chairman, yeah. With that statement right there, property shall only be used for boat storage. None of us are up here in 10 years, whatever. How will that be recognized? Will that go on, could that be stamped onto the property deed, something at the courthouse to make sure?
This will run with the property and with the county zoning records. We keep y'all routinely put conditions on property when you rezone it, and we keep a database of that. So we've got that recorded, and it'll run in perpetuity with the land, unless they come in and rezone it or get you to relieve that.
Okay.
Just to follow up on that, so would someone periodically do an inspection to ensure that it's just boat storage? I really follow on what Commissioner Stevens is saying.
Well, in order to do anything other than boat storage, you've got to come in and get a permit if you're going to build something else.
Oh, you should.
But generally, when somebody does something they're not supposed to be doing, we get a call and we go out and investigate, and it becomes known as, with that many people living in that area, you can bet that somebody's going to call if something other than a boat storage goes in there.
So when you say non-conforming, I'm assuming you meant this boat storage there before we had a comprehensive plan, or?
Non-conforming means grandfather. That's the common term for that. Okay. It just means it was there prior to having any zoning in place.
Yeah. And had he not been trying to expand it now, we wouldn't be.
That's right. He could continue to use it in its current state for a long time, but it's an old building that needs some updating. So I think that's why they're wanting to get it rezoned, so they can get the permits to update the building.
Okay. Just for my information, so we will find these kind of instances all over the county where people who have been doing a certain activity for years before the rules and regs that we have now in place, so they.
Yeah, your zoning has been in place for about 50 years. This building was there before your zoning.
That's okay.
Okay.
Just to piggyback what on Commissioner Stevens said, though, if, let's just say, in 15 years, he buys another piece of property close and says, I'm gonna move my boat storage over there, and it's zoned and approved, what will happen to this piece of property? He'll have to come back and have it rezoned if it's gonna be for a residential use or something?
He'd have to come back and get it rezoned. He could.
So,
Once you've zoned it commercial, you can't build a house on it. You'd have to come back and get it rezoned.
okay, that's what I'm saying. I mean, anybody, that place has changed hands a lot of different times, and, you know, you don't wanna lock somebody down to say, well, nothing else will ever be able to be built there, so, but that's not in this condition.
No, this simply says that he's locked in for a boat storage. That's what's been there for a long time, and that's, the neighborhood was built around the boat storage, but if you change that use to some other kind of use, it might be intrusive on the neighborhood, but the neighborhood has had this boat storage there from for the beginning.
And they would come back before us if that were the case, if they were
They'd have to
considering
come
some other
back.
activity. Okay. So
Yeah, they
that
would have to come get this condition lifted if they
protect
wanted to
the
do something
neighborhood.
else.
Okay, all right. I see. Petitioner
That's all I
here?
got. That's it.
Nope,
Petitioner here?
nope.
No? Okay. All right. Was there anyone who opposed this, sir?
No, sir.
No, sir. All right. Commissioner Stevens.
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation, we follow the saying of the LCPC on this rezoning.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Motion second, we approve 2023-046 LC as presented. Any further discussion? See be none. All in favor, by show of hands, please. All right, the motion passes. Rezoning is approved.
Thank you.
What a
That
good
concludes your
day.
business, sir. Chair entertain the motion to come out of public hearing back into regular session. Second.
Second.
All in favor, show of hands. All righty.
What a good day.
Let me do this. It's not often that we get to have our state representative with us, so we're going to invite him to come and give us 3 minutes of his best wisdom. While he's here. Then we'll excuse him.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that you hadn't noticed when I'm on a program to speak at a funeral and it says 3 minutes. I always wave to 3 minutes. I tell the preacher it takes me 3 minutes to get up to the pulpit. But I just wanted to pass this on because Mr. Barrett has to get back. We saw Commissioner Walton when he left. And I knew he went to tell somebody that Barrett wasn't on the property and they could go on and do what they needed to do. So we're going to rush back. But I couldn't let this historical moment pass when Judge Anderson was talking about her mother. That council was the first women mayor and full female city council in the United States of America. That's why Walter Cronkite was here, because it was so historical. There's a lot of other history that I know somehow you all will figure out how to gather it and put it in the archives, but it's also very historical that when the Justice of the Peace was still the order of business in Georgia, and very powerful because they were all many magistrates. And we had one in McIntosh, then the community of McIntosh. I can't call Mr. Bill's last name to save my life. No, it wasn't Baker. This Mr. Bill, he was a white gentleman. His wife was a fire watcher for the fire tower that used to be in McIntosh many, many years ago. Yes, sir. I can't remember his last name, but he was the Justice of the Peace. In 1964, and I've kind of researched and I can't find this statement to be refutable. In 1964, James Smith replaced him as Justice of the Peace. Earlier, when Sheriff Sykes died unexpectedly, he served a short while at the behest of the commission as an interim sheriff until Bill Phillips ran and was elected. And he took over again as Justice of the Peace. But in '64, when James Smith was appointed Justice of the Peace in the McIntosh District, remember now, this was before the Civil Rights Bill. This was before the Voters' Rights Bill. He became the first African-American Justice of the Peace in Georgia. In Georgia. That happened in Liberty County. Glad it's named Liberty because it's proven it. But this is historical that it happened as a Justice of the Peace there. And Mr. Alec Olds, who remembers Mr. Olds? Mr. Alec Olds was his constable, because all Justices of the Peace were authorized to have a constable because they took in all of the warrants, etc. And the constable's job was to serve whoever it was that was listed. And Alec Olds was the constable then. His wife was a home economist in Savannah, and he lived on what is now 196, and we called it the Border Guy Road during these times. But these are historical facts, along with the fact that Ms. Carter was the very first female county commissioner these certainly need to be preserved. And later, Carrie Kent became the first female mayor in Georgia when she was elected mayor of Walthallville, following Miss Anderson. All of these are historical enough to be celebrated because we tend to forget. I'm going to remember Mr. Bill's name. Watch, when I leave here and head home, I'll remember him. But he had an old 57 blue Chevrolet. Right on the right, across from a little service station there. You remember the gentleman had the service station brand. I can't call his name either. Age is good, but it's a little inconvenient. I usually didn't carry notes for anything. But I just wanted to share this with this august body about things Liberty County. Butler, Mr. Bill Butler, that was his name, Butler. There, but I wanted to share it with you. Since you are the guardians of the flame, you need to know all parts of the flame. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
All righty.
We'll talk some more about Mr. Smith.
All right.
And happy early birthday, State Rep. His birthday is tomorrow.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. Did you ever have any of Mr. Bill Butler's eggnog?
His name was Ben Butler, and I was much too young, but I did a lot of things I wasn't supposed to do, and I take the fifth on that question.
Birthday tomorrow.
Right.
Happy birthday to you, sir.
Thank you, God. It's hard being 50, but somebody
I
got
know it. I know. Mr. Brown, please make a mention of, I'll try to remember that. Proposal for Public Works.
Yes, sir. We come back before you tonight to bring the proposals received with a recommendation on building that the commission looked at some time ago to replace the current public workshop. As you recall, this will also be the new home to mosquito control, as well as a new version of the vehicle maintenance facility. So we had a committee, this is in the memo, that scored. We had 3 firms that presented. Those are on the attachment for you there. The high score was Pope Construction Incorporated at a 92. They did exceed MWBE requirements on the project, so those were met. Their construction costs related to the project is $6,334,000. $6,334,000. Just a little bit back on that too. You recall this is a project, again, that y'all looked at actually in December with the architect on hand. It's about 20,079 square feet, which is on target, by the way, with our square footage that you looked at that night, basically designed and what y'all requested that night. And the budget does meet this need. This actually is about right on target for, like, in 2022, we had a whole project budget that was anticipated, and this project came in within that budget range. You may recall too that it's funded basically by SPLOSH proceeds and SPLOSH 7. And so should the board desire to make award tonight, then we're prepared to go ahead and move the building forward for you, like you asked, with the bond underwriter that's here tonight to meet with you. A couple of particular items on the building I know that you're aware of. Again, it does include mosquito control and a separate outbuilding for proper storage of those chemicals, which is something they haven't been able to do at the old landfill site where they've been. The building is built to withstand wind loads greater than 100 miles an hour, which is a little bit unusual, but given the location, it was structured like that. Due to some low city water pressure there, one of the big items that's having to be added into the project is a fire storage tank and a fire pump for the facility. Those are, again, not common. New generator, 250 kW generator also goes with the site. The site, much like y'all asked, is fenced and motorized, which is something we have not had, and we've had some burglaries there of catalytic converters and things off the site, so we look forward to having that in place. We did try to follow your guidance, not to build for today, but also to plan for a little bit with the future. So it does have 12 service bays, some with larger doors for the larger equipment. It does have 3 vehicle lifts in it, and it does have a bridge crane set up in it, which is something that, as they went through meeting with the department heads, Mr. Coleman, who handles the shop, as you know, Mr. Silvers and Mr. Wells, some things that were noted there. This does include complete demolition of the old building and removal of the old structure. You remember, I'm sure, though, that we will be leaving the concrete pad for the current building because it's being turned into a washdown pad with proper drainage there. And the last thing I mentioned is we did take note, it does include the extra parking, the paved parking that the board requested that night when you were with the architect for the staff too. So, you know, with that, the users of the buildings are here to answer any questions you might have related to that. And we do have Mr. Rob Sharp from Pope Construction who's here to answer any questions you may have from him. But our recommendation from the committee is we do move forward. It is in your budget, is a budgeted item under Splash 7.
Was he one of them?
Yes, sir. It's Mr. Mosley, myself, David O'Hagan, and Mr. Wells.
Man, y'all trying to get a little smart on us. I should have never said anything. We should have just sat back and watched.
Shall I treat like a rezoning request? Is the petitioner here?
I'm not sure.
Well, we got 3 that's been waiting a long
Here's
time.
some petitioners. There's
Very
3
long time.
petitioners here.
Mr. Wells, come in, Will, please speak to this project and how it will benefit your staff and what they do.
Yes, we were looking forward to it. We've been waiting a while. Like I say, we met with all our architects and planned, and we think it's a good thing. We think it's going to serve us well.
Yes, sir.
You know,
That's the one thing I want to ask, Clint. Are you satisfied with it? Because Joey's good about cutting the corners on that. But I mean, if you satisfied with it, and you can work with it, and
Yeah.
it's going to be something for 20 years down the road.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. We went through it all and looked at it and tried to figure out what we can get by with and not, and I think it's a good plan.
Well, I know when we, did the construction on the one when Chairman McIver was here, that was it was a good thing, and I could see a few places in there where we probably ought to took a little bit more time and maybe moved it a little closer to the road or something like that, but, you're the one that's gonna be running it. I did mention earlier last year and probably the year before, I think we really ought to be looking, the board, whoever's sitting up here, the west end, to haul your equipment out there, we need to have something that when your tractors, and I saw them sitting, out on Curtis Road there, and, they're actually on private property, but is there any possible way we can, yours ain't sitting out in the weather at the house, is it?
No.
Okay, that's the only thing I want to say. Let's make sure that somewhere down the line, we're gonna have to find a piece of property on the west end that we can.
Yeah, we have had some talk about that around the industrial park or the old airport or something, trying to do something there, but it just, yeah.
Well,
We got Farrell's garage, we keep them parked under there.
well, I know, it's leaking through them other places, but,
It leaks a little bit, but
well, I mean, I know we're gonna grow, and hopefully, there's gonna be a lot of more paved roads, but, that's always been something that, that we need to make sure that they're, out of the weather, and I know Steve will tell you the best thing to do is have them under a shelter, and at least on concrete, because you can't tell what's dripping out the bottom of them when you pull off, so.
yeah,
If you tickle to death with it,
yep, I'm satisfied.
I don't want to hear a word that any way you want it now, I'm gonna tell you that.
I've looked at everything. Like I say, I had some conversation the other day, and I went back and looked again just to make sure I was
Well,
good.
It's in Commissioner Stevens' district, but it's gonna serve the whole county.
Everything is in Commissioner Stevens' district anymore.
That's right.
We ain't voted on tonight.
I'm glad you put that on the record.
That's what Commissioner Stevens is, he's seeing growth all around down there. So
He
it's,
is.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, he didn't get enough, so y'all give him some more.
Got the gym, got the Miller Park, got the fire station, got the EMS station.
Silvers,
And then,
you convey the same as this gentleman? All right, sir.
and then Mr.
All right,
Coleman.
put that on record.
Mr. Coleman is over the
We got 3
mechanic shop.
collaborating partners. in.
Yes, sir, all 3 of them.
You know, not
And I
in
think
their
probably
head.
had the biggest chunk of the building, Moon. How big is his size?
His side is the biggest, the shop.
Yeah, I would think so,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
county shop to work on vehicles.
Yeah. We, and like I say, now Frazier will be in there with us, and him and his assistants got offices, and, you know,
Well, that's good, because I know he has to
Welcome
be
to
lonely
town.
down there.
he gets out of that 1945 single wide he's
And
been
you
in.
got, Clint, you got your break room for your workers and stuff like
Yep,
that?
yep, we got a break room off to the side there for them, and
Sounds like a good plan there,
Chairman,
and,
you ready for a motion?
Just,
We gonna get it for free, right?
yeah, it's gonna give you a discount.
I just got a question, not for you all, Mr. Brown. Looking at the scoring, of course, I see Pope really, I mean, they came in at lowest. And then also, looking at the NWB standpoint, I'm glad to see that they have exceeded what we have on paper. But I'm looking at the other 2 bids. So NIC stands for not in compliance,
Not in
right?
compliance, that's correct.
Okay, see? I was just trying to get some clarification.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Brown, you said Pope Construction was here?
That is, Mr. Rob Sharp is here representing them.
Rob?
Speak to this project, sir. We know your name from having been here in Liberty County. You're no stranger to Liberty County.
Yes, sir.
But speak specifically to this project and
First of all, I'd like to to have the opportunity to work in Liberty County with Mr. Stevens on Samuel B. Harris, and we've enjoyed everything, and we enjoy.
everything is in District 1.
We do. But there's a lot of thought that went into this building. I can tell by when we took the time to bid it, it took a long time to bid it, and there's specific items, but it's built for the future. You know, it's built to withstand, usually public facilities areas are pretty tough on, you know, the inside of a building, or it's got 22 gauge interior liner panels. The roof is 22 gauge, so it is designed to last as long as it can last. Now, you know, public works facilities take some abuse, but you know, instead of having asphalt on the outside, it's got concrete, which can take the turning and whatnot. Just like Mr. Brown said, it's got generators, it's got a sprinkler system. It's designed very well. And it's not just designed to last 5 to 10 years, it's to last a long time. So we're excited to work with Mr. McCall, and if we have the opportunity, we worked with McCall before, and we enjoy working in Liberty County, and we thank all of y'all.
Rob, that sprinkler system, is that gonna be foam system?
No, it's not. I have to look back at it, but no, it's got it's a water system that that has a storage tank on the outside with fire pumps that withstands, it's got the storage tank has to have enough water to supply the building 90 minutes at full capacity.
Because what I'm looking at, if you got something in there that's burning, it's gonna either be all gas or diesel.
Right,
And you don't wanna put water on that.
right.
So that's what I'm looking at
I
from that
think
standpoint.
it's going to supply what's required by code to allow the fire department to get there in a timely manner.
And it's a brand-new fire station coming up right
Yeah.
down the street.
Yeah.
Most along the line of supply and demand, how we're looking for, I know we've had some,
You know, typically, you know, 18 months ago or 2 years ago, we could get things a lot quicker than we can now. You know, the metal building's gonna take some time to engineer and whatnot. So supply and demand just takes a little bit longer than it did previously. And it's something that we deal with, and we've had to deal with on Samuel B. Harris on air conditioner units and whatnot. But it takes a little bit, you know, it's got to be engineered, which is probably going to take 10 to 12 weeks just to engineer the building itself to get the reactions for the footings and whatnot. So we'll be working on the site work and trying to move the project along as quick as we can. But, you know, once we get the building, it'll go up quick. I will say that. But, you know, our anticipation would be to do as much on the site work as possible so we can make worthwhile of our time.
was that one of the criteria that you all scored, you know, the timeline, following the timeline? It was, yes, sir. All right. So
Mr. Brown, this is a splosh project, correct?
It is a splosh
For
project.
1 penny,
The 1 penny.
1 penny project.
all right, I think we have our questions answered.
I got a question, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry.
Joey, you said that the water pressure is low on Bacon Town Road. What about up at the Sam Harris Gym? I mean, is it bad up there too? That's a midway issue?
It is a midway issue. It's a midway pressure problem issue that I think when they put the new tank in will cure that, the new elevated tank. But luckily at this point, we don't have to sprinkle that building up there. If that comes that we have to end up sprinkling Samuel B. Harris, which is some discussion we're having right now with the fire marshal, then we would also have to go back in there and look at a water line to run in there, as well as a fire tank and a booster for that facility also. But hopefully we don't have to do that. Long answer to your question.
Well, up on 17, where that was that EMS station, is that in Midway?
It is, but we're getting water, if you remember, from the Development Authority. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If I remember correctly, the mayor's Clancy said they're waiting on parts, something.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
For the water tower, yeah.
They are.
Yeah, supply and demand again.
It's supply and demand again.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, I know normally with a lot of our construction, we normally do a 10% contingency. Is there a reason why on this one we're doing 5?
It really depends. It's not necessarily a set percentage as much as it is a dollar amount too. So on larger projects, you usually see a smaller contingency amount that's in there.
Okay.
To do that.
I was just thinking that Pope is just that good.
They are.
People say they are.
Ballpark figure of days, how many days, after materials on there?
About a year.
12 months?
14 months.
Yeah, it was a little over a year. I didn't bring that sheet in
Probably
here.
14 months.
Okay.
Okay, all right, we ready?
You pleased and,
Yes, sir, I'm good.
okay,
Chair, entertain a motion then.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the bid proposal coming from Pope Industry.
What amount of?
6.
Second.
Second,
Second read, Chip.
$6,334.
There we go, that about.
I don't throw my paper away.
For the Liberty County Public Works Facility?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, all of that, all of that.
Yes.
All right.
You got
But
me.
the new
Here's the
sign,
SPOS money.
Any
Yeah, all
further
of that.
discussion? Yeah, our pennies spend countywide, don't they?
Penny.
Yeah. All in favor, show of hands, please.
all your cars is going from down there now, they got about,
They're working on them, we're getting them out of there. I hope to have some more in the next week. They picking them up.
All right, now we got to pay for it. Mr. Brown?
okay, thank you.
Thank y'all, Chairman, Commissioner.
wait a minute.
Better
you
wait,
fixing to
let
tell
us
about
do the
bonds and
bond
all.
thing.
You need to, you're gonna need to know how.
See it through.
I didn't know, are you presenting that?
He yields.
That's okay.
You need to go on.
To that end, and in order to try to expedite the project as much as we can, Mr. David Lucas and Trey Monroe are here tonight to talk to you about the resolution to authorize the Public Facility Authority to issue the bonds for these projects. And I will note that at your podium, we put a new resolution there for you. It's just has a few minor changes incorporated in it, but when you gentlemen want to.
Just for I knew, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but you can tell me later, the members of the Public Facility Authority, I know, didn't we not very long ago, didn't we reappoint someone to the Public Facilities Authority?
Yes, we
Right,
did,
yeah.
Mr. Thomas and Miss Renee Camper.
Papers on there.
And the third one, Paul Johnson?
Paul Johnson's still
Okay.
on there.
Paul
Okay,
Johnson and
all right, got
Mr.
it.
Thomas.
I'm glad Commissioner Gillard didn't hear that, because
I heard you.
All right, Mr. Monroe, how are you, sir?
Well, thank you. Nice to see you all again. So as Mr. Brown mentioned, and this is typical in the way that the county has funded a number of their SPLOST projects going back probably 15 years or more. But the resolution in front of you is essentially it requests, this body requests the Liberty County Public Facilities Authority to issue revenue bonds in the amount of approximately $6,080,000 to finance the acquisition, construction, and equipping of the new Public Works facility. So if it's the board's pleasure and you adopt this resolution, what would happen from that point is we would prepare bid packages for the bonds, ultimately send those out and accept bids for the bonds, and then of course it would be the Public Facilities Authority that is actually issuing the bonds for the benefit of the county, and then providing the proceeds to complete the project. So as we understand it, there is some money on hand, I think from SPLOST 6 that can be used towards this building. So that's why you see a bond amount that's actually a little bit less than the project cost. There's already some money on hand to help pay for the cost of this project. But it is, the bonds are designed to be paid for from the 1 penny sales tax. And of course, we would be back before this board once we had the bid package complete and had bids in hand for the bond to review those results with you ultimately before the bonds are issued. So again, this resolution simply requests that the authority move forward with the issuance of the bond or start that process. Be happy to answer any questions.
So, Mr. Brown, I'm trying to do the simple math here. 6,800,000?
$6,080,000.
6,080,000 from the funding. So SPLOST 7 will.
3.
So a couple of things there. The total project budget, and this has got, special inspections, engineering, everything built in. So it's outside your building. Your building's $6,334,000. The total project budget's about $7.3 million for the project. You've got SPLOST 6 still has $1.4 million
That's what I was looking for.
remaining in it. And so we apply those, and the net proceeds actually needed to complete the whole $7.3 million will not exceed that $6,080,000.
Right.
Okay.
All right, makes sense.
That's what I was trying to. All right. Commissioners, any additional questions before we move on this? All right, everybody clear? All right,
Make a
Chair, entertain
motion,
a
we
motion.
approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion second, we approve the bond resolution as provided, knowing that SPLOST 6 and 7 will cover it.
Yes, sir.
Those two numbers. Any further discussion? All in favor? Show of hands, please. Opposition? All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
But before he leaves, too, you might want to comment on what you think the period of time will be before they're actually issued and you take action. That's it.
Sure. So the schedule would be, well, really, it would be we'll move as fast as we're told to move, but theoretically, the process to get the funding in place should take no longer than 60 days. And so, again, that would incorporate scheduling the meetings with the Public Facilities Authority, and then, of course, the bond will have to be validated in the Superior Court, so we'll go through that validation process that takes about 3 weeks. But from start to finish, 45 to 60 days.
What's that bond rate right now?
We're projecting it to be somewhere south of 4%.
South of 4%?
That's where we see it today. Don't hold me to that, but we'll be well under that, hopefully.
All right. And so as SPLOST proceeds coming from SPLOST 7, we'll pay the bond off. That's the plan.
Yes, that is. That will happen, yes. That's where those proceeds are
Without
dedicated
penalty.
from.
Yeah, no, we'll request that in the bid for the bonds that they be able to be prepaid at any time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And also in the past, haven't we had to refinance or had an opportunity to refinance a bond or two?
We have.
We did.
For a better rate.
So in in 2000, well, it's happened a few times. In 2016, we refinanced the bonds that initially funded the airport, some expansion work at the airport. And then in 2020, we refinanced the bonds that financed this building, the Justice, or was it the Justice Center, excuse me.
I'm about to
the
say, not
Justice
this one, it's the other one.
Yeah, pardon me. And so that was the two refinancings that have occurred.
Got my gears turning. We'll talk some more. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Did we vote?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Well, I'm sorry I was out of the room, but I'm all in favor of it.
Thank you, sir.
No, you were here.
Huh?
You were here.
I was.
Yep. Budget amendment, juvenile court.
Yes, sir, I furnished you a copy of this. This is something that the juvenile judge sent over actually just about a week ago, requesting that they be allowed to hire a staff attorney to assist with juvenile court and to be able to split that cost with the other counties that you see there on your list. Liberty County's portion would be $35,101 per fiscal year, so it actually wouldn't be that much for this remaining of a year. That's really all the information I have for you on that.
What, have we got money, or is that in their budget, or was it?
No, so this would be a budget amendment. This would be required to add to the budget.
How much?
Liberty County's portion would be $35,101.
Or less.
Or less for the remainder of this year.
Any idea on the digest?
We don't, no, sir. The appeals process is closed, and I'm hoping, yes, sir, I'm hoping that sometime in the next 30 days, we'll get an after the fact
You gotta wait till
for that.
I think so.
I will tell you that the other counties have, his assistant sent me word today, the other counties have agreed to fund it. There would be an intergovernmental agreement that would need to take place for the funding.
Was there a reason why they didn't have it in their budget? Did they, I mean, we just did budget a couple months ago. Why are they doing it?
It was in there. I think,
And then we took it out?
Maybe it was a request that was not approved in the original budget, I believe.
It was requested now?
Request, yeah.
Well, I thought, in some of those, we were gonna wait till we kinda got a feel of the, digest.
It's,
That won't be but a couple more months, hopefully, if that we'd get the digest, and then maybe we could approve it, or disapprove it.
let's do that, Mr. Chairman. Let's kind of look
Can
and
they
see
get-
what that is.
Go
I mean, I just think that we need to know how many eggs is in that basket.
It's such short notice or in between that we approved the budget and we moved some of those special interest items, and then it's right back with,
Yeah, who's going to not be taken care of if we, just amending this quick? I mean, me personally, I think we ought to wait, but now,
I do too. I think we should.
Well, we can, and I'm trying to decipher this on the spot, we can wait, or we can have the judge either come before us, so he can meet with me and Joey and kind of, let us do it. Give us time to talk to the judge and bring something back to you.
let's see if we can get somebody to do it pro bono for a little bit.
Yeah. So let's table it for now. All right.
Do you need a motion for that, or?
Yes, please.
Okay, yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table the budget amendment for juvenile court.
Second.
Table this request until further information is gathered. Any further discussion? All in favor, show your hands, please. It's tabled, all right.
And then, Mr. Chairman, just a couple updates. Just a reminder, the EMS ribbon cutting is next week on the 11th at 10
What
o'clock.
time flies?
man, I was just thinking the same thing. August 11th is right around the corner.
On the
And
corner.
was that at 10 o'clock?
Maria, send us out reminders, please, too.
Okay, I will do that.
COVID slowed everything down, and after COVID,
And
everything.
the historic cultural applications are due August 16th, so we'll be convening a committee after that to review those and make a recommendation back to the board. And we do have a date fund request from someone, and I'm waiting to get the amount on that from finance, and once I get that, we'll get that committee together also.
Haven't had one of those in a while.
No, sir, we haven't.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And that's all I have.
Historical, cultural, who's,
Fun,
The
but
chairman,
historical.
Commissioner Gilliard,
Commissioner Gillett, myself,
and Commissioner Stevens.
doing that? Okay,
and the chairman.
I've got the list. I looked, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
all right. While you're standing there, so you have any information on the arrangement for Mr. Durden, from Tom Durden?
I don't. I understand that there were some arrangements that were posted and then pulled down, and I don't. The short answer is I don't.
They're up to date now.
They up
I think
there?
Yeah, the
I'm
funeral will be
sorry.
at, Hinesville First Baptist Church. And I don't know, I saw it there just a minute ago. To be honest with you.
Chair,
Yeah.
if I may say, when that project on Bill Carter Road came to us, we had talked about a cemetery, and I could not find it. The developer has found the cemetery. So he went through all that effort.
Okay.
Yeah, he's found it, and we're going back out, so he's gonna mark it, and he said that's gonna be like a common undisturbed spot out there. So he did go through that effort to locate it.
We appreciate him for doing that. I have to say, the developers we've been working with have all been very cooperative and considerate on all the projects. Mr. Brown, once again, I put you on the spot, but has everything, and Commissioner Stevens, the dump trucks on Island Highway, how's that going this week?
I went down that way this morning, stayed down there for about 30 minutes, and they've slowed down quite a bit. I only saw about maybe 8 trucks circulating this morning.
That's, okay.
So,
Okay.
Well, I rode down there the other day, didn't know nothing about there was a new dirt pit down there. But I saw DOT, and they had them pulled over,
right,
so I think that's pretty much put on.
yeah.
It looks like what's posted here is Howard, in Ludowici. The funeral is, Thursday, August the 3rd, at 4 p.m. at First Baptist Church. Visitation's 2 hours ahead of time.
Okay. Well, once again, if you just make a note, the record shows that we honor his services too, over Tom Durden. I don't know how many years he served as a district attorney, but for several years. But we certainly honor his service, and we honor his memory, and our prayers and condolences are extended to the family.
You said First Baptist Church? Okay, thank you.
Thursday.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is that all for the good of the order?
That's it.
Chair, entertain a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved, Mr. Chair.
Second. All in favor? Thank you.
First day of school tomorrow.